our symposium here today. Before we get started with the program, I'd like to send some thank yous out to the organizers of this, what I would call a major event, starting point in infusing democratic discourse in our school community. The planning actually started over a year ago. We felt the need to make an emphasis on, place an emphasis on dialogue and listening and reflecting, and not necessarily having to learn an argument. We found that was sort of getting in the way of progress for us. So it just came out of an idea, and here we are today. I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that. I would also like to thank Glenn, who will be our moderator today. He has put in a tremendous amount of time in this school year, not just in preparation for today, to help bring this alive for us here. And last but not least, our panelists. Not only are they taking time out of their busy schedules, but they're here to share their thoughts on some pretty controversial issues. And I thank them for that in both regards. I want to be very clear what we're after. We are not going to solve problems that lead to inequality in our community, in America, or in the world. That's not what we're after. What we're after here is to model how to have a conversation, especially when we're talking about heated or controversial topics. That's really our focus here. And as an audience member myself, and for you as well, we have a role here as well. Okay? And that's to listen, be reflective, challenge our own beliefs, and want to learn more about opposing perspectives, no matter what the issue is. As we move forward next year, we will continue this conversation around other issues and new practices, because it's important. The health of the community depends on its ability to communicate and talk, and solve problems peacefully and simply. So I thank you in advance. I know you'll be a great audience, and I know this will be a very informative seminar. Good morning.
The symposium's goal is to model discourse in a respectful manner. After one of the most controversial presidential elections, and at a time where polarizing issues are dominating conversations and news, the need for respectful discourse has never been so important. Plain arguing or insulting people with different points of view from yours does not solve the issues that we have to deal with. It leaves people more divided and unwilling to compromise and solve problems. Thus, respectful discourse is crucial to talking about sensitive issues in today's society. The symposium will model this kind of conversation with a discussion on race.
Since its creation, our country has struggled to fight against racist tendencies. While America has made tremendous progress on racial equality, in the current climate, racism is still a highly touchy subject. Whether we are discussing poverty, questionable police altercations, or any other issue pertaining to race relations, today's conversations usually do not end with any progress made or an understanding of another's point of view. It is very important to remember that it is totally okay to disagree. Our panelists may have different viewpoints on the topics we are here to discuss, but they have agreed to come here today to listen and learn from each other through the use of facts and reason rather than insults and hostility.
In order to ensure that progress is made during today's discussion, a special guest has agreed to come and moderate the conversation. Dr. Glenn Matoma has left behind a promising skateboarding career in California and is now devoting his time to promoting human rights. He is currently working at UConn as the director of the Thomas J. Dodd Center, a Center for Human Rights, as well as being an assistant professor of human rights. His work has been published in many human rights journals, and he has even edited the Journal of Human Rights. It is truly an honor for him to have taken the time to be with us today. Please welcome Dr. Glenn Matoma.
And yes, it was very promising skateboarding. Excited to come up here to run the Down Center instead. But I'm really glad I did, because it gives me an opportunity to do events like this. And I really want to applaud the faculty and the administration at EO for deciding to take these topics on and to begin a process. And this is really the beginning of a process of thinking through how our school community, and I'll admit I'm a parent of EO students, so I consider this my community too, how our community here at EO can really help us develop a better democratic culture. And I think there's no better way to start this fine group of individuals up here. So thank you to you all for being here today, and really thank you to the panelists for joining us. It takes a lot of courage. They don't know exactly what it is I'm going to ask. All they know is that they've been invited here to talk about some difficult topics: racial equality and gender equality. And these are controversial. They touch all of us in all aspects of our lives. And they're often topics that are difficult to discuss because they cut to the heart of people's feelings and people's experiences. And they can leave us feeling more divided rather than more united. And I think our challenge today is to try and have a conversation around a difficult set of topics that doesn't lead to perfect agreement, but leads us to being stronger as a community nonetheless. And so I'm really, really grateful for those on the stage with me today to engage in this experiment that we have before you. So essentially, what I'd like each one of our panelists to do is give themselves a short introduction, say a little bit about yourself, and then also say something about why you think it's important, why you thought it was important to take the time out of your busy schedule to be here today to talk about this topic in particular. What it was about this topic that you think it's important that we have conversations like this. Okay. Dr. Elsa Nunez, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elsa Nunez. It has a tilde over the second N. In the alphabet, there are N's in Spanish, two N's, one with the tilde, one without. Everybody always misspells my name. They remove the tilde, but it's pronounced differently. It's Nunez. It's like a Y when you have the tilde over the name. I say that because I'm of Hispanic descent. I'm Puerto Rican. I was born there. I wasn't born here. English is my second language. And when I was a little girl and I came to this country, there were no ESL classes. The teacher put me next to a young man named Darrell. I remember him clearly. We were in elementary school, and he was developmentally delayed, and there were no special ed classes at that time. I'm in my 60s today. And they put me next to him, and he drew horses all day. And he was a wonderful artist. I couldn't draw, and I sat there for days, weeks, months, years without any instruction. And so, to me today, the importance of today is to talk about the great things that this country has done to make great strides, because I think we can't forget that the country has made great strides, but then not to forget and to always remember that the country has to go on. I have a 14-year-old grandson who goes to RAM, and this entire weekend we talked about Mahatma Gandhi. He's reading a section on India, and I was fascinated, and that's what brought me here today, by his thinking, not just to learn about India and Mahatma Gandhi, but he's starting to think more deeply about issues of social justice. And so I'm here today to help you, each of you, in whatever way I can, to think more deeply about issues of social justice.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Rich Knoyer, 20-year veteran with Connecticut State Police. I'm the Mansfield Resident Trooper Supervisor. I've been here for 6 years, and I work closely with the community, specifically here at E.L. Smith with your principal, Mr. DiLoretto. We have fostered a fantastic relationship. The reason I'm here today is because obviously these topics are very highly publicized in law enforcement. And I believe there are times where, we don't always get our say, so to speak. So if there's any clarifications, any type of issues that come up that I can hopefully shed some light on, that's why it was important for me to be here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Mo Cotton Kelly. I'm a Vice President for Government Relations at UConn. I'm also married to Coach Kelly. And so he asked me to participate, and I jumped at this opportunity. We live in this community. We have lots of conversations about this. We don't always, my husband and I don't always agree, but I think we actually have good conversations. And we drill deeper into issues, and these issues are never going to go away. There's always going to be race conversation. There's always going to be gender conversation. But my hope today and for future is to bring a level of respect and conversation so that we can continue to build a better university, school, community. You all have some things in your power. We want to help you.
My name is John Kyler. I'm pastor of Stewart's Community Church, which is just located off the intersection of Route 32 and 195. I was raised as a Roman Catholic, came to faith in college, and found myself in a Protestant church. And I think how that applies to this context, I guess, is that I try to put together a congregation of diverse ideologies and opinions. We seek for unity on the essentials and diversity on the non-essentials, and in all things charity. And as someone who's a white Christian male, issues of race and gender are things that I'm still trying to figure out the answers to, and particularly as they relate to me. So this is an important conversation for me as I come to try to learn and listen. But I think as I've been involved in the discussion, I think it's important just to show up and be part of this discussion. More importantly, I have 3 grown kids, all Smith graduates.
My name is Rodney Powell. I am a dad. I'm also a principal of Opportunity Academy and Learning Academy of Bloomfield, which are under Our Piece of the Pie, which is a nonprofit in Hartford. I'm an author and I'm a story collector, which is part of the reason I'm here today. I really, truly believe that what's important in terms of thought and in terms of decisions that are made and discussions that are had, what's important is that we understand each other's stories. So rather than someone telling me that 75% of this population thinks something, I'd rather sit and listen to 100% of your stories. And I think if we take time to do things like this today and share each other's stories, we'll have a better understanding of each other and more of a tendency to embrace diversity and see it as a positive thing.
My name is Sheila Riffle, and I am an adopted only child, first generation college student. I share that in case any of you can relate to any of that. I am happily married to a woman who is the love of my life. I'm a musician, and I am currently the principal at Old Saybrook High School. I'm here for a variety of reasons. E.O. Smith has a very, very, very special place in my heart. I spent some significant time here and learned immensely from colleagues and students. And like my fellow panelists, I agree that this is conversations that are very important to have, very important to be a part of. I'm looking forward to learning from today. I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn from you. And I hope to be able to model something like this and bring it back to Old Saybrook High School because it needs to happen there too.
Thank you all. So this is really exciting to have you here. Rodney, your point about making sure that our stories are out there, not only that we're putting our stories out there, but that we're hearing other stories is precisely the vein we want to work in. Dr. Nunez, I want to pick up on something you said, and you're certainly right that over the long arc of history, we've made a lot of progress in the areas of racial tensions in particular. But I think many of us have been attentive to the ways in which more recently there's been an uptick in bias incidences of one kind or another. And I'm wondering, and I'll start with you in your position as a president of a large university in a diverse city. Have you seen bias incidences on the increase, or are you concerned about those reports? And what impact do you think that has?
I have to tell you a story. first, and I'll get to the answer. That's such a good question. So I became president of Eastern 12 years ago, right? Undergraduate degree, good schools, advanced degree. I was a faculty member. I ended up teaching English at a college at Ramapo State for almost 20 years, etc. I applied for the job at Eastern. I get it. My husband and I lived in Massachusetts, and we decided we would not buy a house in Connecticut right away. We would rent. So he and I went to Norwich, Connecticut on a Sunday, and we were looking at apartments. So there was one apartment in a very nice building. I could see the building. We couldn't get in because it was Sunday. And there was a telephone number of the real estate agent, basically said, if you'd like to rent, just call. So I was very interested, so I called and I said, this is Elsa Nunez. I'm very interested. The next day I got a call back. I didn't take the call on my cell phone because I was busy. And it went like this. I almost can cry every time I remember that moment. It said, this apartment's not for you. You probably can't afford it. She heard Elsa Nunez and decided that was 12 years ago. So what this climate is like today, it's always been underneath. It's always been underneath. The liberation that people feel to say that now, she would probably say it to my face today. Before she wouldn't have dared. And people said, did you call her back? Did you tell her what? I said, no. Did you tell her you were the president of Eastern? I said, no. Why should I? She is who she is. She believes what she believes. So discrimination has always been underneath. I didn't mean by my introductory comment that we've made so much progress that it's never been gone. And so I have felt it my entire life. And I fight it on many levels, mostly by my example. But what I find at Eastern is that the key to, there is discrimination at Eastern because there's discrimination everywhere. And the issues of bias when they occur at Eastern are generally student to student. Sometimes it's faculty or staff. And we immediately intervene. And generally when it happens, there's a lot of good that we do by intervening early because it doesn't escalate. Generally, we bring the parties together and we try to talk it through and this is a cliche, make it a learning experience. Sometimes I wonder, do both sides really learn from it? But we make both sides talk about the incident, what happened. In particular, we had a young man who did something on social media and he used a racial slur against a black man and we had to intervene. And we said to him, do you feel it is right to apologize to the person you said this to? And he said, yes, I think it is right that I apologize. I said, because we would never require you to do that. And he said, no, I think I should. And on his own, he apologized. So I say that in a long-winded way because it does exist. We try to intervene right away and we try to ask the person to think more deeply about what they did or what they said.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a remarkable first story. Thanks for sharing that with me. I think the emotions that come are part of the story about what the impact of this are. I think that's part of what I want to get. And Sheila, actually, maybe I'll throw it to you as well. Sorry.
I'm just stuck on that story.
Yeah. From your position, Old Saybrook is obviously a different kind of institution than Eastern, but I'm wondering from your perspective what you've seen with respect to increased bias incidents, if there are any, and the effect you feel it might have on your students.
I would say that I don't know that there's an increase. Elsa said something that I very much agree with. I think that people who feel biases towards others for a variety of reasons right now feel like they have a voice. And I think what we struggle with at Old Saybrook, probably very similar to E.O. Smith and many other high schools, is people operate so much on assumptions and not enough on experiences. As a white person who is the leader of a school that is 90% white, I don't want to for a second believe that our students who are considered a minority have had negative experiences. It doesn't matter what I want to believe. I have to be able to listen to other people's stories and experiences. And that's where I think we get caught up, because we want things to be true or untrue, and we try to move in that direction as though they are. And we have to listen.
Sergeant Knoyer, from a law enforcement perspective, are you seeing any increase in crimes that you could characterize as hate crimes or bias related? Is that a concern that you're talking about within your troop? And what do you think that law enforcement can do to help address these issues in particular?
Well, specifically for our troop, Mansfield, we have not seen an uptick at all in bias crimes. What we do have is a tremendous amount of recognition to it. There's a lot more awareness. So when you do have a crime, we're investigating a crime, and it does involve different interracial type of situation. It's looked at a lot more closely than when I started my career, for sure, and it's been even more polarized over the last few years. For law enforcement, I think it's just, again, get out in your community and you have to talk. As Sheila said, predominantly white population in their school. Well, the Connecticut State Police makeup is predominantly white males. And I do have some friends that are African American who since retired from the job and said that they felt that they were wrong for positions on the job. And it just blew me away because every position that I've gone for on this job has been tested, and I just went through the process. And if I finished number one, as I did to come here to Mansfield, I just felt that that process was completely fair. And for them to say that, these are good friends of mine, it blew me away. So I think as the law enforcement community, we need to open our eyes to the, if it is that minority, why do they feel this way? Is there a problem? And how do we fix it? Because I don't wake up in the morning and have anything against any race, color, or anything. As I was speaking earlier, Connecticut State Police wear a gray uniform. We don't see black or white. It's gray. It's objective. My investigations are objective. My approach is objective. So when you hear it, it's disturbing. It's hurtful because it's not me. I wouldn't do that. I do a process with people in my office. And I would never shy from somebody because of race, color, gender. It just wouldn't happen. So I guess we have to keep talking, and we got to find out why people feel that way. Why is it happening? Or is it just a perception that it's happening, and how do we fix that?
Okay, right, yeah. So, I'm hearing a lot of the same ideas about listening to people, but a couple of times it's come up with your comments, Sheila, and yours, Sergeant Knoyer, working in predominantly white institutions, which are not entirely white, brings up a particular set of challenges. And I know that's the case at EO as well for schools that have an overwhelming or a large minority or a large majority of white students and white faculty. I'm wondering a little bit, and actually maybe I can ask Rodney, you about this. Is there, recognizing that the teaching and administrative staff at many schools often does not reflect the diversity of the students themselves. Is there a problem with that? What is the benefit of making sure that students see themselves reflected in the adults and the authority figures around?
That's a huge question that's extremely important. I think one of my most important roles is as a positive black male figure in my school. My school is probably about 50-50 African American or Caribbean mixed in there as well, and Hispanic. I don't think currently we may have one white student. And I think part of our success with students who are just disenfranchised, kind of disengaged from school before they get to us, part of our success is that they can look at the main office and see two black male administrators who can identify with their experience, who are not afraid to sit on their stoop in their neighborhood. And it does make a huge difference. People get afraid to answer questions like that because they immediately think, oh, you're saying white people can't teach black kids, right? And that's not, you can't be afraid to have that conversation. No, what I'm saying is, if you don't see anybody that looks like you in a position that you aspire to, then what is your motivation to believe that it could happen? A good example is when I was growing up, it was not a possibility for a black person to think that they could be president. My kids have no idea what that feels like because their entire lives, they're 12 and 8, their entire lives up until now, there was a black president. And so it's an extremely important question to ponder and a problem to solve because there is a problem.
Thank you. And for you, John, in terms of your congregation, is it diversifying in itself? Are you concerned about making sure that everyone is feeling welcome? And obviously, this panel is focused on race, but there's a wide range of diversities that I think we're concerned about today. And then more generally, what's your sense of your ability for your institution, your church, to reflect back to your parishioners the diversity that they bring to worship?
Our congregation is about 150 people on a Sunday morning, dominantly white. There may be a dozen or so others in the congregation. And, our theological position is that God's kingdom is multi-ethnic, multi-racial kingdom, and it's inclusive. Everybody's invited in to be a part of that. The challenge, I think, for us, particularly where we are, is it's not the racism or the bias is not overt. It tends to be under the surface, and our task is to help each other identify that and take ownership for it, and bring it to the surface so that it can be healed and dealt with rather than pretending we don't have it. We're all like, okay, we just love everybody and you're good and I'm good. So why are we don't have this conversation? But the reality is that we all have it, or at least I have some that I'm learning to deal with. So put them on the table and say, okay, this is what I got.
And can I ask you if you have any pointers for those who are trying to engage those conversations? I mean, it sounds like you're trying to meet a challenge that you're facing. Are there particular ways in which you can help people who are uncomfortable with that conversation come out and have it?
I think, so I start at the premise that I am more broken and sinful than I'm willing to admit, and more loved and accepted than I ever dreamed possible. And that gives me the foundation most days to look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, this is who you are. Now let's go forward to what God has called me to be. And so, being willing to face up to my own brokenness, which is not an easy thing to do. It's something I generally avoid until somebody helps me see that. But so owning your own brokenness, and I think also being, somebody said it already, that being willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to enter into the process. And I guess also laying aside some of your fear. I've entered into discussions and conversations about the whole political thing, even with a group of people that I agreed with 95% ideologically, but in the context of that conversation, I felt like, even with these people, I have to be careful what I say, or they're going to judge me, and so it's like, oh, so I'm just not going to enter into this. But that's not helpful.
Right. So yeah, humility goes a long way, doesn't it? Mo, I want to wrap up this particular question with you in particular. As a fellow Husky, and I know you work a lot with alumni. The image of the typical college student has historically been very one-dimensional. Typically white, typically middle class. And I think the image in the minds of many who have historically associated with UConn may still be fixed in that past and may not recognize the current state of our campus and what it really means. How do you help people's image, preconception of what it means to be a college student, what it means to be a Husky, change to more accurately reflect the range of people, the range of identities that are really a part of UConn?
Well, I would say that I would love to be very magnanimous and go out and bestow the virtues of the university, but typically I'm doing damage control after an event. When we had the race incident with DeBrock, when there was some other incidents, I'm typically, that's what alumni kind of tune in. They've been kind of keeping tabs on the university in different ways. With mentioning to some fellow panelists, we just had to have a conversation about a sanctuary city, what that looks like for the university and what we're doing. And alumni who were here before did have a very small worldview of what their experience was at UConn. And so I will get a call from an alum who's yelling at me saying, I can't believe my university is doing this, or why do you have an all African American dorm on campus? Are we segregating people again? And so my job for that reason is to kind of dispel myth and rumor and talk about why these are important, and that UConn is not a utopia. And we have challenges, but my hope is that I also try to get alums on campus, because it's very easy to sit back in your home, on your phone, on your computer, and make some judgments about anything, but in particular our university, because you get a quick tidbit from the Hartford Courant, or something, Title IX, the sexual assault piece that has been happening. And so I try to get our alums to come back to campus and actually meet students and see the depth and the breadth of diversity, what's happening in our cultural centers, because some of those entities did not exist when our alums were on campus. And I think getting people in and talking to students and having a conversation, and dispelling the myth that all students are partiers, and then you even have that overlay. UConn is a highly academic institution, and the value of our alumni degree has raised exponentially, but that one-dimensional view still pervades. And so it's a work in progress. I like to be more proactive. I hate doing the damage control, but it also gives me an opportunity to get some people around the table to answer the questions and to show that we are a diverse university, and we're growing, and that's not going to change.
Bringing people in, face-to-face interaction.
It's hard to do.
Yeah,
but it's essential.
All right. So we've reached the point where I'm going to start throwing some numbers at you, and we'll get your reaction to those. A few statistics here, not too difficult, but I think I want to get your sense of what your reaction to these is. In the past 20 years, and these all have to do with education, the number of what they call intensely segregated non-white schools, which means schools with less than 10% white students, has tripled in this state. In Connecticut, for school discipline rates, Black and Latino males are 3 times more likely than white males to be suspended or expelled. Black females are 5 times more likely than white females to be expelled. On the flip side, in AP courses, the number of Black students in total are about 14.5% of the student body. They only make up 9.2% of those taking AP courses, and 4.6 of those passing with a 3 or higher. Sheila, let me start with you. What are these statistics telling us, do you think?
Well, I think, again, they're telling us what we don't want to hear and don't want to believe, but I think they're telling us the reality of where things stand. I think there continues to be beliefs. I'm going to go back to something actually that Sergeant Knoyer said, and with all due respect. You had said, when you were speaking about the force, and you said we don't see color, we wear gray. And I would just challenge you on that. In that, I believe that, and again, respectfully, sir, you can speak for you, but I think it's difficult. I can't confidently sit up here and say all my teachers don't see color when they're dealing with a behavior issue in the classroom, or they don't see race when they're dealing with a behavior issue in the classroom. I would like to be able to say that. I'd like to believe it. I'd like it to be true. So again, I think I think that's the state of the state. I think that's where we are, and it's appropriate conversations. It's having students, Hispanic students, Black students, have role models to look up to and see other people doing what it is that they know they can aspire to do. I think we need to create those opportunities as much as possible, and we need to continue to raise people up instead of knock people down. And there continues to be such a hierarchy, a need for a hierarchy of some sort that I just can't get my brain around. So.
Sergeant Knoyer, do you want to respond? I mean, I think, and I didn't pull out criminal justice statistics, but I certainly could, and we could see a reflection of disproportionate impact. I mean, what do you think that those numbers are telling us? And I think I believe you that the objective approach that almost all officers take is real. But if the impacts are these, what are the numbers telling us, and what should we think about them?
Well, first, to Sheila's point, when I say we, I talk as a representative of our organization, which I take a lot of pride in and believe in. We have very few, if any, documented cases of biasness in our organization that I'm aware of. So when I speak in we, I think we do objectively, but when we do take a trooper who, for all intents and purposes, grew up in an environment like we're seeing here, mostly white, and we stick them into Bridgeport, New Haven, maybe there are some misconceptions there, and maybe the way they act could be construed as they are not seeing gray, that they are looking at it in a different manner. And I think that, we need to look at that for training purposes. And as far as statistics, they did a racial profiling statistic for the Connecticut State Police, and they found that the Mansfield contingent, that we were on the wrong side of those statistics. But the way they come to those statistics is they look at the census. And at that census, they didn't take the University of Connecticut into consideration, which we just heard is a very diverse community. And so you look at those numbers, and it looks like you're being told that your guys are profiling, that they're racist. So I disagree with the statistics. Are only as good as the information fed into them. You look at the south end of Mansfield, it borders with Willimantic. Let's take the census of Willimantic, and I think that you're going to see a different census than you see here in Mansfield. But with the Eastbrook Mall and the traffic down there, there could be potential for motor vehicle stops that are people of different race. So I struggle with statistics if they're really giving us the true picture. And as far as the statistics in education, I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that. I just, from a law enforcement perspective, in Mansfield, I think those numbers were drawn out, and I don't think they reflected accurately as to what our guys do. And as the leader of that group, maybe I shouldn't, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, but I took it personally. And I wanted them to redo the numbers, and they refused to do them with the University of Connecticut census with. So they basically have ignored 23,000 people that we interact with.
Thank you. And so, well, Elsa, can I get you to respond a little bit to this idea, right? So, I mean, I know, as an academic, statistics aren't transparent, right? That they hide some of these differences in the way in which people are counted and assessed. Nevertheless, I think if we look across a broad swath of the statistics, they seem to be pretty consistent in the stories that they're telling. And I'm wondering a little bit about whether or not they are pointing to racism as a set of behaviors that individuals are exhibiting, say, a racist teacher or a racist police officer, or if they're pointing to something else.
Oh gosh, I wish we had more time. This is such a complicated question. I'm going to come at this a little bit differently. It's a very good question. So, if you did something that I perceived as racist or biased, I would have a pretty hard time proving that that was your intentionality, that was what was in your head. You could say, well, I did it because I thought something else, you could come up with other reasons. So proving that a person is biased or racist is very hard unless there's hard evidence. I say that because I grew up in a home, a Hispanic home, where I was taught by my father that all Polish people were dirty, that they didn't take showers. And so, he died last year at 90, and maybe 10 years ago I reminded him that he denied it. He said, I never said that. I never taught you that. I said, yes, you did. He said, no, I didn't. He was ashamed of it. And if you had asked him, he would have, now he realizes that was a terrible thing to teach a little girl or all of us. He must have made the comment without being explicit about it, but we remembered that comment. And I think if we took the temperature in this room, each of you could write one bias on a piece of paper. Something that we all have it. I just believe we all have it. But we pretend sometimes that we're clear of it, that we don't have any biases. We're not racist. We're not sexist. We're not homophobic. None of us are. I think we are. And I think that that's at the root of these statistics, that people who have a position of power and they act, at the moment that they act, that is part of it. Malcolm, thank you. Malcolm Gladwell wrote a wonderful book, and you should Google it and try to buy it, in which he talks about bias. And he says, in an instant, you make a decision, and everything that's in your head for all the time you've lived, if it's 14 years, 15 years, in my case, it's 60 plus years, all of that computes very quickly, and you act. I believe the statistics, for the most part, are right, except with this exception of the collection of the statistics, and you could prove there was some anomaly there. So that's why, being in a position of power, you have to check yourself. Right? I don't have a problem with Polish people. I understood my father was working in a factory, and maybe those people didn't bathe, and that's what he concluded that. My father I grew up, and he never mentioned anything again about that. But that bias that my father had was a real bias. Did he act out on that bias in that factory? I don't know the answer to that question, but I know that in positions of power, people act on their biases, and sometimes they're not conscious of it.
I think it's relevant to talk about fear first, and we can talk about it in schools, but then expand to society in general. And I'll share my personal experience, but I think within a school context, I'll give an example. Raise your hands if you've ever been upset in school, if you've ever been mad about something. Right? So everybody gets mad, right? Has anybody who's ever gotten mad before? Right. So here's the thing, though. I've been in lots of different school settings and lots of different social settings. So in my experience, and of course nothing's perfect, but in my experience, when a white student acts out and is upset and expressing themselves in an angry way because they're mad about something, there's empathy that happens, right? There's compassion. You may be a little annoyed, like you need to stop acting like that. But in general, we got to get this kid some help, right? Well, when a black kid acts up, and says, I'm mad about something, they call the police. 9 times out of 10. How do I know that? Because I'm that kid. I'm still that kid. I'm 41, almost 42 years old. If I get mad in society, I'm a 6'4" black man. If I get mad in society, in front of other people, in front of other white people, the police are coming. Right? And I'm not saying anything negative about the police. I'm saying about the perception of the people around. That now, it's almost like World War III is happening all within me because I'm upset. Right? And that's where the inequality happens and where we don't understand each other and where things can happen like I get stopped on the street for a routine traffic violation, and my emotion is taken as if it's the ultimate threat, right? Rather than just I'm having a normal human emotion that you all just indicated that you have. Right? So I think fear, and the last point I'll make on that is we're all victims of that. No one is necessarily the perpetrator, right? And that's an unpopular thing to say, but we're actually all victims because we're constantly fed messages and then therefore feed each other messages that say, that reinforce this idea that some people are allowed to have emotions and reactions to things and other people better just sit and be quiet.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's really important, and it connects certainly to what Elsa you had to say about the way unconscious bias works, right? That fear, the moments of stress are times in which we're triggered in that way. And I guess the question really is, how do we short circuit that ingrained response? How do we take back control of our own reaction based on what we know, not necessarily only on what we fear? And John, you had talked a little bit earlier about doing that as a kind of personal practice, about looking at yourself and reflecting. Can you say a little more about how someone does a better job understanding themselves so that they can improve the way they're reacting to the world?
Where would I begin to advise you on better understanding yourself? I think part of that is to put yourself in a community of people who are going to love you unconditionally, who are going to let you figure out who you are and all of the mess that you bring to that context. Fortunately, I have a wife who allows me to do that. We made a commitment to each other, and that we're in this to the end, and that allows me freedom and security to look at myself as I really am. I think also eliminating the expectation or the pressure to always have to be right. I think part of when we get into conversations like this, we feel a need that, well, if you're right, then I'm wrong. And I'm going to defend my position because then I don't want to feel wrong or imperfect and I think that particularly that's always been a challenge for the religious community, the faith community, particularly if you look at the issue of race in America and around the world, that faith has been co-opted into sanctioning systems of oppression and getting God's blessing to do this thing. And I think getting rid of the need to always be right. You got to start somewhere, and it's okay to be wrong sometimes, and to be somebody who's in the process and trying to figure this out. And Ryan's point about fear is a big one. I was happy to have the invitation to come here, but there was a certain amount of fear about participating. Am I going to say something stupid? Am I going to say something offensive? Am I going to be right? And so when you enter into these conversations, even now as I sit here, people are talking and I'm saying, what am I going to say next? And how am I going to react to this? As opposed to really listening to where people are coming from and finding out their perspective, which is okay to be different than my perspective. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
And it really, I mean, you know, and granted, you guys are doing this as a high wire act in front of me, so it makes it very difficult to do that. So I appreciate that. But you're right, Sheila, did you want to?
I just want to speak to that idea, that concept of self. I think fear comes into play greatly in many things, in these types of topics, in self-awareness and self-understanding. We just had a presentation at Old Saybrook High School. We had a class, a Spanish class, it was 11 students, and at the beginning of the year, they had been learning about immigration. And as you know, that's a very big topic in our world. And they started to learn things. They read the book Enrique's Journey, and they started to learn information from others' life experiences that they really latched onto. And what they found as a class was how important it is to base opinions from facts and from others' experiences, and not just from the people around you who have opinions as well. And they ended up preparing a phenomenal job of giving a presentation on immigration to the entire student body. And I think the thing that stood out for me the most was how many students commented on opinions they had without facts and because of the people around them having those same opinions. And so I think, to bring it back to understanding of self, I think that's the most important piece of figuring out how to have these conversations and how to help one another just develop compassion. You have to understand yourself. You have to take the risk in looking in the mirror and reflecting and being wrong, or being okay that it's not about being right. I really think it so starts with self, and at the high school age, and probably in my 40s, I still catch myself and have to take a step back, and I probably will until I'm 90, but I just think that's an important piece of understanding where others are coming from, is truly understanding yourself and not just basing what you think off of everybody around you. And that's hard to do, especially in adolescence and as a young adult.
Oh, you're nodding, so please go ahead.
I also think it's about being right, and I think we always want to win the game. We're a very competitive species. We want to say, oh no, I won that. And I have a 9-year-old and 5-year-old, and it becomes something about, we won a kickball. And I go, what happens when you lose? I think he's so concerned about winning the game, winning the argument, having the last word. Jackie, you were saying, I'm so busy thinking about what I'm going to say. I think people are so, they just want to be right, they want to win, and they want to get their word out. As opposed to maybe we all have bias, we all can say that, absolutely. But if you're so concerned about winning the conversation at all costs, because I think that's where big bias, big stereotypes, big racism, big fear comes in, then you're not in tune with yourself. Because you're so busy thinking about your response, you're not even listening to the question. Something could have been triggering for you that would make you halt that moment and thinking about, oh wait, I may need to just check myself. And I do this a lot. I like to engage in public discourse. And I get animated. And as an African woman who has a position, people are like, oh, let's get a little crazy. But I'm emphatic about what I want people to understand about me, but I also know that when I do that, people are looking at me like the angry black girl. And some days, I don't care. I don't. Because if that's going to take you to pause for a moment and actually hear what I'm saying, I'm not angry at the person, I'm angry at the circumstance that presented itself. And I don't think sometimes people listen until you actually react. My job, though, is not to react with a bias that makes someone else feel smaller about what they're doing. And that's me constantly checking myself. And I don't really a lot.
So we seem to be returning to a lot of these themes around humility, around recognizing your limits, recognizing when you're wrong, and I'll throw it out there. I won't address this to anyone in particular, but if anybody, and Elsie, you almost shared this before about your dad, so if you want to share a specific circumstance in which you've changed your mind on something important, on something that matters, on something that's close to who you are and what you think of yourself, feel free to do so. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot to do that. And while you think about that, I'll just tee up, I think we're getting down to the end, a last question that I think is really open to all of you, but I'll start with Dr. Nunez, and we'll start with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, where he talked about a world where people will judge by the color, not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. What do you think he actually meant by that? And what do you think is one thing we could do, if it's worth pursuing, to move forward to pursuing that?
Well, I don't like that you start with me with all the hard questions.
You figured me out.
No, this is an important thing to think about. In my mind, I work with a lot of really intelligent people, and I'm always drawn to the quality that some people have, and many of you have this quality, and I hope you recognize it in yourself. Your parents or family have probably pointed it out, and you're developing in high school, where you can actually be in the middle of conflict and be a facilitator to diffuse the conflict. And I don't mean diffuse it to make it go away. I mean bring down the temperature so people can act. That's a gift. If you have that, that's a gift. And so what I have found is that is at the essence of the content of your character. The content of your character is when you're in a tough situation, in a difficult situation, where it's easier to agree with your friend or your father or your mother, somebody, and it's a controversial situation, and you choose not to. You choose to do the right thing, say the right thing, not just be silent, because that's not always the right thing. And I think he does, Martin Luther King, for me, was such an enormous role model, and all my life I've admired not only his words but his acts, because he did have, in the content of his character, he was able to be that type of person who could bring people. You see it in his reading, in his writings, and you see it when you review his life, or that people can be brought together by people who understand the importance of listening to each other and coming to some consensus, or at least some, as I said, some way to communicate with each other. In my life, one of the things that I've changed enormously, and I had a transformational experience when I was vice chancellor of the system in Maine, and that's like the head of all the universities in Maine. And I was number 2, and I don't know why I took that job in Maine. I think I was the only minority in the state of Maine, and I went there. I thought it was a great job. I had been in CUNY. My husband was president of Northeastern University, so I had to move to the Northeast, and that took me to Maine. And in that job one day, I was at the land-grant university, just like UConn, University of Maine in Orono, and we had to, part of our requirements was to go out into the field, and they were having what they called nutrition classes with children. It was part of the university's mission. So I had to go, and I went into a library, a local library, and there were a bunch of little kids, and the person doing the session said, we're going to read a book, and then when you read the book, you're going to take another book to an adult in the room, blah, 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 blah. So I'm standing here looking at my watch. I gotta go. This is important, right? And all the children were white. And they read the story, and then I was ready to run out, and a little boy who was 4 took a book and walked towards me. And when I looked at him, I said, oh my God, he was dirty. He had pierced earrings all in both ears. He was 4. His clothes were tattered. He didn't talk much. He just handed me the book, and I sat down with him and read the book. And the book would happen to be about vegetables. In Puerto Ricans, we don't like vegetables. We don't eat vegetables. So I found myself, my mom used to say to my mother, those vegetables are for rabbits. Because we don't eat vegetables. And I said to my little boy, do you eat vegetables? And he went like this, no. I said, I don't eat them. And that was sort of coming around in the book. And then I read the book, and he was really happy, and he took the book, he could keep the book, and he was really happy. And I understood, really understood. I mean, I got it intellectually because I'm well educated, but I never got it emotionally until that moment in time. That what united me to that little boy was class, not race. And he was poor, and I had been as poor as he was once in my life. And if I could connect to what connects me to people, you know, I gave up the issue that I could only help minorities. I could only, you know, that only minorities. I mean, I had thought I was beyond that, but at that moment in time, I really got it, and I was transformed thanks to that.
Dr. Kanoya, would you like to address the King quote at all?
She says it's hard to get the question, the hard question.
It's hard to follow.
How do you follow that? Again, you know, I know myself. We're talking about self, and I know who I am, and talking, you know, the biases and trying to wrap your brain around it. I think it just comes back and it continues. It has to be education. It has to be understanding other people's ways, cultures. You know, I've said it on our jobs, and I say, you know, if there's racism going on, then let's deal with it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out why is it happening. You know, so it's a tough question for me to answer because in myself, I know I'm not racist. You know, we think, though, you know, what are those biases? And then I don't have the luxury of sitting back and thinking and to make a decision sometimes. In our job, it's instantaneous. It's a nanosecond. And, you know, so you want to believe that you're that good person and your training, your experience, your life, the way you live your life, that you wouldn't make those decisions based on some bias, you know? So I think it's an ongoing process. And you hope that you're not going to be perceived that way. Because I know when you have time to think about it, I wouldn't do it intentionally, but you raise a lot of great questions, you know, it makes me think, you know, and how do I grow? How do I get better?
Well, you want to take a stab at this one? I know, right?
What I would say, what I love about that quote, I also kind of reduce down to kind of simplistic. When you're young, right? Look at your friends, choose your friends by, is that person nice to me? You kind of have some things in common. I love you. I want to be friends with you. And I think we lose that because of lots of pressures. I mean, you know, peer pressure is one thing, but societal, parental, who you have in your circle. I mean, I would love to think that we continue to look at people by, hey, I like you. I have a few things in common, but the moment when we don't, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to unfriend you from Facebook. I'm not going to unfollow you from Twitter. Because what bounded us together was so much bigger than this one moment where we went on different sides. And I think choosing people by continuing to remember, how would you feel if that was to you? It doesn't feel good. But are you addressing it? Are you going to talk about it? And can you have a real conversation without losing that friendship, that relationship in a way that, you know, I just think that we think about this election and we think about a lot of things that are happening, that people, friendships and families got torn apart. And it was bigger than being Republican or Democrat. There was a lot of hate, a lot of civil discourse that people were having the conversation. And so I would hope that we will continue to try to just be real people and be okay with disagreeing, but not be willing to let relationships or friendships go because of some of these issues. It's hard work. I think anybody who's married will tell you marriage is hard work. It's harder than you ever think it could be. What you all are doing and being in school is equally hard work. Being friends with other people and having conversations with your agreement, hard work. My challenge to you is don't give up.
So I just been handed a card that says 3 different levels. One of the challenges of doing this thing is it's an ability to have perfectly equal time. So you know, John, if you want to say just one quick thing, and we'll go down and give Rodney and then Sheila the last word.
I
think in spite of what we've experienced in America over the past year, character matters. And each of us has a decision to make whether or not we're going to commit ourselves to resume values or eulogy values, in the words of David Brooks on his work to really character. And eulogy values are those things that you hope people say about you when you're gone. Resume values are those things that move us ahead in life. And those are unimportant, but character matters.
Collect as many stories as possible as you go through your life. As many diverse stories as possible. And when you're talking about race, quote other people other than Martin Luther King.
I would just, I don't know if there's much to add from what others have said, except from my own perspective. I go back to what I said in the beginning. I think the importance of helping us progress and move forward. I think it comes back to, it's been touched upon, who's really listening. Listening without an agenda, without trying to be right or trying to make what we're hearing something that it's not, but learn how to really listen. And not only to others, but to yourself. Because I think we say things to ourselves a lot more than we're willing to admit that can help guide us in directions of respect and integrity and character. But I don't know if we always listen to it.
Thank you. So it's left to me to admit the mistakes, and I think Robbie, you already pointed it out. Maybe use something that's a little less challenging than we should be in conversations like this. So if I were to do this again, I would change my mind as well. So join me, please, in thanking this remarkable panel.
You have experienced two very profitable assemblies this year. And in schools, we have a beginning, we have a middle, we have an end. The school year, you walk into a class, the teacher tells you what you're going to do, then you do it, and they wrap it up for you. We don't want to do that. We want to leave this open, and I encourage you all not to take what you've heard tonight, put it in a box, summarize it, and think we're moving on. This is a conversation that needs to continue to ask questions, reflect on what you heard today, and compare them to your beliefs. And we will continue to revisit this task we have in front of us for a long time. So you were phenomenal. I'm very, very proud these people do not work here. We have visitors from other schools, and I'm proud of you. And that's from the bottom of my heart. So that said, thank you very much. And at this point, I'm going to close class.